Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jeff Olson, and today, as we've done in videos past, we're treating different mental health related topics. And today, this is one that kind of hits close to home. Um, we're going to be talking about auditory and visual hallucinations, and not necessarily what causes them, but how to deal with them. And so, navigating reality when a loved one sees things that aren't there, and it can be scary. So again, really encourage you to like and subscribe. Like to get some more likes out there. A lot of you are watching, but you're not clicking that little button. So do me a favor, click like, leave a comment if you think this is useful. If you like the videos, I would really appreciate it. So what happens when a loved one sees things that aren't there? I'm going to start, as I do a lot of times, with a story from my own life. Many of you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, that I have a daughter who's 38 years old. Uh, and for approximately the last 14, 15 years, she has been dealing with schizophrenia, or what's called schizoaffective disorder, which is basically schizophrenia with bipolar disorder. And early on, um, we dealt with a lot of hallucinations. Some of them were caused by the medication. Some of it was just caused by the illness. And, this is new territory for my wife and I, and we had no idea what was going on. And it was kind of interesting. Some of the first symptoms my daughter demonstrated were just she had forgotten everything. She forgot her life. She forgotten high school. She forgotten college. She had no idea where she was or who we were. But as for the hallucinations, one of the ones that really confused us was she was convinced that she was married to a German prince from the 18th century. She would sit at the dinner table and talk to him and absolutely carry on conversations, and almost like he was talking back to her, answer questions, the whole bit. She would see him, describe him to us, and of course we couldn't see him. And it was really heart-wrenching. It's hard when you're hearing your loved one have these types of events, usually associated with some kind of trauma. Psychosis can bring a lot of this on. And yeah, so all of a sudden, my daughter is married to a German prince. Other times, she would think that she was a 14-year-old boy and she would start talking like him. Um, and it was unnerving. It was hard for us. We wanted her to be, normal. Why are you doing this? And at first we kind of fumbled around and tried to talk her out of, oh no, he's not there. Who are you looking at? This is, crazy. You shouldn't be doing this. Worst thing we could have done, right? But imagine in your own situation that someone you love is looking at the world, but what they see isn't there. Objects appear that don't exist. People speak words that no one else hears. And when you try to tell them the truth, the reality you share doesn't match their reality. Remember, you're dealing with a sane, put together mind. They're not. And so it's hard for them to see things through your eyes and vice versa. How do you navigate that reality without losing your own footing? That's a real good question. So today, we're going to dive into a very delicate but vital topic, and that is supporting a loved one who sees things that are not there. So, the first thing we have to do is understand what they're experiencing. And unless you've been through it, unless you've had auditory or visual hallucinations, it's really tough. So, the first thing we have to do is understand what's happening. When someone sees things that aren't there, sometimes these are called hallucinations. And like I said, they could be auditory or visual hallucinations. It could be due to a lot of different causes. It could be neurological conditions like dementia. It could be psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia, extreme stress, or even temporary triggers like sleep deprivation. It could be caused by medications. And I will tell you that you can cross almost every one of those off my list. Been through all, well, I haven't. My daughter has been through all of these. So it's crucial to remember that what they're seeing or hearing feels real to them. Telling them outright that's not real, that's like the worst thing you can do. Okay. You'll never convince them because they see it. And so it can feel invalidating and it can be upsetting to them. They can lose their cool, get mad, get angry. There's a lot of things that can happen. But it can, by confronting them and telling them, no, you're wrong, it's not there, it can really increase their anxiety and their fear. So, so what can you do? What should you do? Well, we're going to go through a few things. Like I said, this is not an inclusive list. These are just things that top of mind that I've experienced and things that have been successful for me. So the first step is to listen without judgment. Let them describe what they're experiencing, what they're seeing, what they're hearing. Show them that they are being heard, even if the reality they describe doesn't match yours. Simple phrases like, I see that as real to you, or I hear what you're saying can create a bridge of trust. We often call that empathizing. I remember in one of the workshops I went through with NAMI, there was a gentleman in there that they were really upset. Their high school age son was convinced that there were people living under his bed and he saw them every night and he didn't want to go to his room because he saw these people. And as I said, the very first thing you've got to do is validate that they do see it. They hear it. Let them describe it. Let them see that they're being heard. Pay attention to them, empathize with them. Even if it doesn't seem real. I mean, there were no German princes living in my house. Okay. And even if it doesn't seem real, just I hear what you're saying. I see that you may see this, and I get that. Create that trust, that bridge of trust between you and them. So listening without judgment. Secondly, create a safe environment. Safety, if their visions, especially if their visions or things they're hearing involve objects or people that could cause harm, or if they seem confused or frightened, uh, your role is to gently guide them to a safe space. Keep familiar surroundings, reduce overstimulation, and maintain routines. Predictability really helps ground them in what their when their reality feels unstable. So calm them down. If you have to, and I'll give you a good example. Okay. My wife and I fought this for months, if not years, with my daughter. Friedrich was the name of her German prince, and she saw Friedrich. Friedrich came down to dinner. Friedrich was in the car when we went to the doctor, or when we went on a ride anywhere, and she was totally convinced that Friedrich was there. And we fought it. He's not there. What are you talking about? This is, because we wanted to force her to see things the way we saw them. It was the worst thing we could have done. What was interesting about it? One day, my wife and I were sitting there talking, and I had to tell you, every time she would do it, you just get this sick feeling in your stomach, like your whole world has come crashing in. And my normal daughter was behaving abnormally. But my wife and I talked about it, and we said, what's so bad about seeing a German prince? What's so bad that she thinks that this is in love with her? I mean, she's not trying to commit suicide. She's not taking drugs. She's not doing anything to self-harm. And so we looked at her and we said, you know what? Okay, Friedrich's here. According to her, he's here. And it was really fun. People think I'm a little, off the deep end on this, but we'd set a plate for him at the table. We would let her talk to him. We would talk through her to him, and we would welcome him into the family. And he sat at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, accompanied us on vacations. Um, and it just wasn't that big of a deal. When it comes down to it, so what? You know, it wasn't worth fighting. And it validated her and it made her feel like, oh, okay, and we're not fighting. Now, eventually, I'll tell you that as time went on and she got on better medications and so forth, that the hallucinations went away. And today, where we are right now, she has absolutely none of them. Well, for a while, we just accepted it. What was the harm? You may not agree with me, but it caused a lot less stress and anxiety in our home. The third thing I want to talk about is what I call reality navigation. And I call it reality navigation without confrontation. Okay. Rather than trying to argue or force them to accept what's real, look at these, oops, sorry, that way. Look at these three strategies. The first one is redirection. Shift the attention to a calming activity or a familiar task. Hey, let's go on a picnic. How would you like to go get a hamburger? Let's go sit on the porch and listen to the birds. Something that can calm them down, bring their reality, something you both agree on, and can calm them down and kind of redirect it. Not not invalidating what they see, but shifting the attention to something that is calming and familiar. Could be watching a favorite television program that all of you agree on. It could be visiting a relative. It could be, driving to McDonald's, whatever the case may be. The second one is validation and reassurance. Acknowledge their feelings. I understand that. I'm I'm sorry that you're hearing that, and that must seem really real to you, and I acknowledge that. I understand that this must feel scary to you. I empathize with that. Remember that word, empathy. Okay. So I understand your feelings. I understand you're hearing that. It must be awful. I can only, I don't hear it, but I can only imagine what it must feel like to see or hear those things, right? So validating them, reassure them, I'm here for you. I understand. I'll do whatever I can to help you out, and I'm right here to help you. The third and last step in this reality navigation is collaborative problem solving. So what we can do with our loved one is look at them and say, that is a very real thing for you. And I can't imagine how hard that must be for you. So how can we, being your parents, your spouse, your brother, sister, loved ones, whatever, how can we make this feel less upsetting? Right? Say that. How can we make this feel less upsetting instead of saying, that's not real, you shouldn't be feeling that, right? So you're diffusing it, taking it down, and say, can we redirect this into something that's less upsetting? How can we help you? And I've even done this with my daughter when she was having these visual hallucinations uh, and auditory when she was in the hospital one time. They just wouldn't leave her alone. And I would just say, sweetheart, I am sorry. I don't hear those things. I'm sure you do. It must be very, very upsetting. Empathy, right? What can I do to help you? And one time, I'll share this is a very tender moment for me. We were in a hospital. She'd been there for almost a month and she was having just a deluge of hallucinations. And most of these were auditory hallucinations. People talking to her, hearing voices. She heard voices all the time. And she finally looked up at me, and I was sitting on her bedside, and she said, Dad, can you just lay next to me and hug me? And absolutely. And so I did. I sat back on her bed and she curled up against me. I put my arm around her. I kissed her head and we just kind of stroking her hair, telling her how much I loved her, um, praying with her. That seemed to help because that was something familiar to her. And like I said, trying to make this feel less upsetting. instead of that more confrontational, that's not real. You're not hearing that. They do hear it, right? They do. Okay. So just some ideas with that redirection, focus on something more positive and calming, validation and reassurance. I understand that this feels scary. And thirdly, how can we make this feel less upsetting? A collaboration, right? Instead of take a pill and go lay down. No, let's collaborate between us. How can we make this less upsetting? Next, of course, probably already doing this. Don't go through this alone. Professional guidance is essential. Psychologists, psychiatrists, neurologists, counselors, therapists, whatever works for you. They can help identify the cause of these hallucinations and provide tools both for your loved one and for you. Family therapy can also help everyone involved cope with the emotional strain. As I said, I'm not a psychologist. I don't pretend to be. I'm just somebody that's lived through it. And what I will tell you is sometimes it's caused by medication. Just a simple change in medication can all of a sudden trigger hallucinations. It can. I've witnessed it. And so sometimes it's the medication, sometimes it's the illness that just triggers it. There's a lot of things going on inside the human mind that trigger these things. So get help. Go find a good counselor, a good psychiatrist, psychologist, and they can help you. A lot of times it's an adjustment of medication. With us, with Friedrich, the Prince, we lived with him in our home for about a year. And you know what? Like I said, it didn't hurt anything. People thought we were a little weird when they came to our house, but so what? Didn't hurt anything, didn't harm anything, and it kept her calm and less anxious. So, caring for somebody whose reality is different from your own can be exhausting. It can be frustrating and heart-wrenching, all of the above for me. And but patience, and then that big E word, empathy, and professional support can make a profound difference. You're not dismissing them, you're walking alongside them. Okay. Don't fight them. Remember, it's real to them. May not be to you, but it's real to them. Walk alongside them, not against them, gently guiding them back to safety and calm. There are ways that you can agree with what's real and bank on that. Okay. Remember, you you can't control, as we said this right at the first, you can't control what they see or hear. You can't. Doesn't matter how bad you want it. It doesn't matter how emphatic you are and how you walk. It's not really there. There are no monsters under your bed. There are no little people living under the mattress, right? There's no German king prince sitting at dinner time. Doesn't matter. You can't control that. Okay. But you can control how you respond. Okay. As I said, we fought it and then we just accepted it and it was fine. No big deal. And she eventually got over it. So if and your response can make the entire difference. It really can. And I don't mean it's going to cure them of the hallucinations. I mean it's going to keep the anxiety level in your home better and calm and low. Because, there's an old expression that says, you win the little battle and eventually you win the war, right? And sometimes there are just little battles. Sometimes you just have to say to yourself, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. What's the worst thing? You're seeing things that aren't there. The gentleman I told you about whose son saw people living under his bed, they moved into a different bedroom. Now, does that say we believe you? No, but it validated him and it showed him that you cared enough to take care of him. So that's another thing is they see that you're on their side, not fighting them and not trying to force them into seeing things your way. So um, if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. Like I said, like and subscribe. Um, and we'll cover more topics like this, but we can give you more insights on navigating challenging emotional and mental health situations. And take a deep breath. You're not alone in this journey. And some of the things you might want to consider is NAMI. I mention them all the time. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. Also, your local crisis support numbers can help you out. Sometimes your insurance companies can help you find resources, but please let me know in the comments if there's anything else that you'd like me to cover, or if this was helpful. It's always good for me to see that I'm actually reaching you guys out there. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me, and have a great rest of your day.